She banged on my door like it was a raid, shouting, "Open up! Police, you're under arrest!" I froze for a second, hearing the boots stomping outside my porch. Two men in cheap uniforms stood behind her, flashing fake badges under the porch light. Karen, the self-appointed queen of our HOA, pointed straight at me and screamed, "Take him away! He's trespassing on this property!" My hands tightened around the doorknob. I was standing in the house I paid for, the land I owned, and this woman had the nerve to act like I was a criminal. I stepped outside slowly, letting the screen door creak open. "You're making a mistake," I said, my voice calm but low. Karen folded her arms and smirked. "You don't belong here. I told you last week your kind isn't allowed in this neighborhood. And now, we're doing this the easy way." The two men moved closer, trying to play tough, but their uniforms looked like they came out of a Halloween store. One of them leaned toward me and muttered, "Come with us quietly or it gets rough." I stared at him, almost laughing at how sloppy their act was. "You sure about that?" I asked. Karen raised her voice again, trying to draw neighbors to their windows. "Everyone should see this. This man thinks he's above the rules. Arrest him right now." She thought she had me cornered, humiliated, exposed in front of the block. But what she didn't know was that the real law wasn't on her side. It was standing right in front of her. Inside me, something shifted. I'd kept my identity quiet for years, blending in as just another homeowner. But as Karen shoved her fake authority in my face, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Because when I finally spoke, my words cut through her confidence like glass. "Funny thing, Karen. You just called fake cops to arrest the actual chief of police." Karen's smirk collapsed in an instant, but she quickly tried to recover, waving her hand dismissively like my words meant nothing. "Oh, please," she scoffed, "you're just bluffing. These men are officers and you're going to jail tonight." Her voice cracked slightly, though, and I caught the flicker of doubt in her eyes. The two fake cops looked at each other nervously, waiting for my reaction, like they hadn't signed up for me to call their bluff so easily. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and tapped the screen without breaking eye contact. "Dispatch," I said into the speaker, my voice sharp and controlled. "This is Chief Reynolds. I've got two individuals impersonating law enforcement outside my residence, assisted by a hostile civilian. I need units here now." The blood drained from Karen's face. "He's lying," she screamed, trying to keep her neighbor's attention. "Don't listen to him. He's making it all up." But the neighbors were already filming from their porches, whispers spreading like wildfire. One man muttered loud enough for everyone to hear, "If he's the chief, she's in big trouble." The taller fake officer shifted on his feet. "Karen, you didn't say he was..." She snapped at him, "Shut up and do your job." But his hands were trembling, and I could see his badge tilting sideways, the glue barely holding it to his chest. The second guy took a step back, muttering, "This is messed up. I'm not getting arrested for this." I folded my arms, watching the panic spread through them. "You really thought you could drag me off my own property with a couple of cheap costumes?" I said quietly. Karen clenched her fists, her face red with rage, and hissed back, "You don't scare me. You don't own this neighborhood, I do." That's when the faint wail of real sirens cut through the night air, growing louder every second. Karen's eyes widened. For the first time, she realized this wasn't going her way. The red and blue lights splashed across every house on the street as the real cruisers rolled in. Karen tried to hold her ground, but the second those doors opened and uniformed officers stepped out, her fake backup crumbled. One of the imposters dropped his plastic badge right onto my lawn and bolted. But he didn't get far. An officer tackled him before he even reached the corner. The other one froze, hands shaking, muttering, "I didn't know he was the chief, I swear I didn't know." Karen, though, wasn't ready to give up. She threw herself between the officers and me, waving her arms like a frantic director trying to control the scene. "Don't believe him. He's lying, I swear. He doesn't even live here. He forged the deed. Arrest him." Her shrill voice cracked so loud it echoed off the houses. Neighbors leaned out further, phones in hand, some even laughing. One of the real officers, a sergeant who'd worked under me for years, looked at me and gave a small nod of respect. "Chief, you okay?" The crowd went silent. The word chief hit like a bomb. Karen's face went white as chalk, her lips trembling. "Chief? What do you mean, chief?" I stepped forward, my voice calm but cutting. "Chief of police, Karen. Every officer in this city answers to me. And you just tried to frame me on my own land with two criminals dressed as cops. Gasps rippled through the neighbors. One man whispered, "She's finished," while another muttered, "I knew she was dirty, but this?" Karen's desperation boiled over. She screamed, "No, this is my neighborhood. He doesn't belong here, none of them do. You're all blind." She grabbed the fake HOA notice she'd taped to my door earlier, shoving it at the officers. "See? It's right there. Proof he's trespassing." The sergeant peeled it off the door, studied it for a second, then looked at me with disbelief. "Chief, this isn't even an official HOA letter. It's printed off a home computer." The laughter from the neighbors grew louder, phones recording every second. Karen spun in circles, her world crashing, and for the first time, she looked like the one on trial. Karen's face twisted as the crowd's laughter cut into her pride. She looked around desperately, searching for someone, anyone, to side with her, but every phone pointed at her like a spotlight. She tried one last wild move. With trembling hands, she yanked her phone from her pocket and screamed, "I'll call the mayor. He knows me, he'll have you all fired." Her voice cracked in panic, but nobody bought it. The sergeant shook his head, stepping closer. "Ma'am, impersonating law enforcement, filing false reports, and harassing a homeowner is a crime. And tonight, it's all caught on camera." He gestured to the neighbors recording, their lights glowing in the dark like dozens of witnesses. Karen spun toward me, eyes blazing. "You think you've won? You don't belong here. This neighborhood is mine." Her words dripped with venom, but they no longer carried weight. I stepped forward, standing tall, my voice steady but sharp enough to cut through her chaos. "This land is mine. This home is mine. And you will never decide who belongs in this country, Karen. Not today. Not ever." The officers moved in, snapping cold steel cuffs around her wrists. She screamed, kicking and thrashing, but her power was gone. The same neighbors she once bullied now cheered as she was led to the cruiser, her voice fading behind the slamming of the car door. I turned back to the crowd, exhaustion finally settling in, but I couldn't help the surge of pride in my chest. Families clapped. A man shouted, "That's what real justice looks like." Another whispered, "Imagine thinking you could arrest the chief of police." As the cruisers pulled away, I looked at the torn HOA notice in my hand and crumpled it. My voice was quiet, but it carried. I didn't fight for this badge to let people like her decide who belongs in America. The words struck deep and the street fell into a respectful silence. My family stepped out onto the porch, safe, proud, and finally free from Karen's reign of fear. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like this neighborhood truly belonged to us.